Is giving good? Naturally, surely to give tzedakah, to give a donation, to give of yourself, is a good, a noble act, and a mitzvah to boot. And this week's parasha, which is Parashat Vayakhel, which comes towards the end of the book of Shemot, talks about giving. And it talks about a prodigious giving. It talks about the way that Bnei Israel, the people of Israel, responded to Moshe's call for donations for the building of the Mishkan, that portable sanctuary or portable shul that the Jewish people created in the Midbar, in the wilderness, and which was a forerunner of the Beit HaMikdash. It may be the only time in history where people have actually brought too much, where the call for charity has to be curtailed, where Moshe says to the people, enough now, you have given enough, you have donated your gold, your silver, the materials, the fabrics, the perfumes, the aromatic incense that was needed. All of this the people gave with they were nadiv lev, with a great generosity of heart. However, is all giving good? Is there a giving which is sometimes not so good? I mean, this was generous, this was great, and called for an end to it. However, can you give in a way which is not good? And I think this is what the Midrash picks up on this very theme, and it says, yes, there is good giving and there is bad giving. And it picks it up because it says these same people who were prepared, this Bnei Israel, this noble people, this generous people who were so willing to open their hearts and open their pockets and contribute so much towards the building of the Mishkan, these were the same people who gave so voluntarily, so freely, and perhaps so promiscuously towards the building of the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf. Not so long before, they were prepared to give, but to a wrong cause. To give to give towards the wrong cause, to give tzedakah towards an organization or towards an individual who is going to abuse the money, who is not going to use it in a constructive way, or perhaps use it in fact for negative ends, is not a mitzvah. You actually undermine the mitzvah of tzedakah. It does not count in my mind as tzedakah, and you undermine the very act of giving. Let me tell you a little story. We've got our youth movements, as you know, train our kids so well. They're so fundamental to the development of our youth in Melbourne and in Australia in general. And one day the youth movements, on this particular day, it was Sunday, they said we're going to have a very special activity. We want all of our chanichim, we want all of your kids to go out and do a mitzvah, do a good deed. And come back after 2 hours and tell us what the deed was and how you managed to do it. And so 2 kids go off and they come back and they're reporting back now. Some 3 hours later they return and they say, well, we'd like to tell you what we did. Madrich says, sure, please tell me. He said, we helped an old lady cross the road. And he says, well, that's excellent. That's the mitzvah of Lifnei Seivat Takum. You should help the elderly. You should assist the people in need. Boys, I'm very proud of you. But there's just one little question I have, boys, is you were gone for 3 hours. It does not take that long to cross a road. So how did that happen? What were you doing? And the boys turn around and say, well, she didn't want to cross the road. That, of course, is about the person doesn't want your act of giving. An act of giving can, in fact, then be something which does not achieve its aims. The giving that we are talking about in this week's parasha, good giving, nadiv lev, generosity of heart, generosity of spirit. That is a mitzvah. When you're giving, think about it. And that's why the mitzvah of tzedakah actually says, think before you give, in order to ensure that your giving is in fact an act of good generosity. Shabbat Shalom.